Hello there, friends of Ai4Autism. We continue with our amazing series of interviews where we hear from members of our community and listen to their stories. We have a wonderful guest with us today. Shelley is a full-time mum from Scotland, and Shelley is also the mother of six children, 4 of whom are autistic. And one of them is her son, Leon, who we can see today. And last year, we interviewed Shelley's husband, Matt. Today, we'll be hearing Shelley's story, and we'll get a chance to learn from her experiences. So please join me in welcoming Shelley Brereton. Hey, Shelley, how's it going?
It's
Shelley,
quite nerve-wracking.
fantastic. We'll jump straight into it. Shelley, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how old you were when you were diagnosed as autistic?
Well, yeah, like you said, I'm a mum of 6. I've spent most of my life raising my children, really. I don't have a formal diagnosis yet, though when we were getting Leon's diagnosis, all the people involved were encouraging me to get my diagnosis. But when it came to doing it, I don't know, I think too many adults are searching for answers these days. And I got refused a diagnosis at that point, and I didn't really feel like pushing it. So maybe in the future, because it is quite stressful. And at that point, it was also more the ADHD problems that the sort of side of it I was looking more for the help with. You know, once I kind of realised that I was autistic, it actually made a lot of sense and actually made a lot of things easier to cope with, because I started to understand more about myself and just about how I work and why I'm different.
In fact, that was going to be my next question after discovering that you were autistic and what that meant. How did you feel and how did you change as a person? Could you delve a bit more into the understanding you had about yourself?
Yeah, growing up and when I was younger, I just always felt wrong and never fit in with the people around me. And it's frustrating, it's depressing, just never feeling right. Yet when I discovered I was autistic and I looked into it a bit more, everything started to make more sense. And there's lots of comorbid issues that are linked to autism, even things as simple as dyslexia and dyspraxia and dyscalculia. It all links in, and you start to pick up on these things and realize, oh, that's like me. I'll look into that a bit more and ways to help me cope with everyday life or manage things that I know are stressful. For me, I find that I can forgive myself a lot more, whereas before, and I know other people, you know, it goes on in your head and it's like, well, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? What is so hard? What is wrong with you? Are you stupid? Or, but yes, so I'm a lot more forgiving with myself when I have a bad day or I feel I can't do something that somebody else could, which makes life a lot less stressful.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And what you said about forgiving yourself is really, really touching. And I can imagine many other people who've been through similar experiences where they were asking those questions upon that, realizing a bit more compassionate upon themselves. I'd like to ask you, how were friends and family towards you after discovering that you were autistic, and what was support like from them, and if any services were involved?
Services, there's not really a lot. Even with Leon, once you're kind of, oh, you're autistic, there we go, bye. So unless you have a lot of additional issues, you know, with some of these sort of comorbid linked conditions, you really don't get a lot of support. As for family and stuff, I've never really come out and said it as such. I think I was always different, and obviously it was kind of obvious I was different, and family have always been really good to me. So I share a lot on Facebook and nobody really says much. So, you know, they like what I share. People like what I share. But I think I was quite lucky in that my family just predominantly, they just accepted me for kind of who I was. I suppose there wasn't really, it's not like they could really do much. But I think, I think they just knew I was different and that they were fine with that.
I remember in an earlier conversation that we had, you mentioned that in your ancestry, there was some evidence of what now has been discovered to be autism. Would you like to shed some light on that, Shelley?
Or, I mean, I suspect it's, I think there is, I don't know if hereditary is maybe the right word. I think it does pass down through families. And I think for a while it was kind of not acknowledged that it could be something similar, you know, because I think people still felt it was something to be cured and treated, and so it couldn't possibly come down a family line. But I think it does. And I think we're going to see a lot more of it in the future now that it's more spoken about and more accepted to be autistic. I know our pediatrician was very, very interested in the family links. I don't know if he figured anything out, but he was extremely excited about it. And we did some genetic tests via blood tests and stuff on Leon to see if there was anything that could be picked up. There wasn't anything that stood out at that point though, but I know, like I said, I've got my children that are autistic and I have an autistic grandchild as well. So it does continue passing down the line. I suppose it might skip people as a lot of these kind of issues do. But who knows what the future is going to hold.
Well, that's absolutely fascinating, Shelley. I'd like to hear more about some of your experiences when you were growing up and some of the challenges you faced.
Challenges, yeah.
Quite a broad question, I know, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've blocked out a lot of my childhood, to be honest. It's not that it was necessarily awful, but yeah, school can be a horrible, horrible thing. It has left me slightly traumatized that I can't even though I love to learn and I love to study, and I did enjoy certain aspects of school, a lot of it was so awful that I can't even bring myself to study now as an adult. I'd love to be able to go on and do something more with my life, but as soon as I try, you know, that panic comes back, the need for perfection, the not being good enough, the stress, the memories from how horrible it can be at school when you don't fit in, you know, the bullying, just the standing out. Even if you try, the masking is so exhausting. It's so, even if your home life's quite good, still going out every day and having that masking from, you know, the moment you kind of leave the house to the moment you get back is just soul destroying at times.
Wow.
What the hell? I'm watching. Right, you watch, good boy.
Well, thank you once again for sharing that as well. This is really touching interview. I'm going to flip that around now, and now that you're a mother of autistic children, with everything that you experienced, can you tell us a little about what it's like being a parent to autistic children and also a grandparent to an autistic child?
Well, we didn't, again, I always knew some of my children were different, but trying to get help at that point. My older three were born in the mid to late 90s. And again, it was still a bit difficult. I had a lot of people say, you know, does your son have a diagnosis? And it's like, no, we can't get any help. And then I had my sort of middle two children who are both, they're in the middle of the diagnostic process. And again, nobody really noticed much. My son, they said, he stood out a bit because he was quite quiet and he was, again, a target for bullies, being a bit different. But my daughter, even I didn't recognise it all straight away until she was a bit older. Girls do I don't know, they can almost hide it. They have slightly different signs, and we handle things slightly differently. So it's maybe not always picked up on quite as early as you can do with boys. Like Leon was different almost from birth. He just did little things and they just flagged up in my head. And a lot of it with my children was more like, oh, I did that. I think like that. That's a bit weird. They're so like me in ways. And, you know, when you realise what what it is with you, and then you kind of understand why they're doing certain things. And but again, it was still a case of trying to get help was really hard. With Leon, I got lucky. My health visitor had experience herself with her own child, so she listened to me straight away about my concerns. And then we got him, the local child development centre got involved, and they agreed, you know, and they helped us get on an early pathway for diagnosis. But then there's other children very similar to Leon who just can't get help at all. It can be very hit and miss if you're trying to get help, which I think you do need if you to get them through school and just to give them the best start in life. You really do need a diagnosis to access anything, and even then, it's not easy. It's constant battles almost. That's with schools. That's why we just took Leon out of the school system and decided to home educate, which is quite scary itself.
I hate school.
Yes, I know that, and it's okay.
Because I sing.
So Leon did attend, my other children have all attended school, and they have all struggled greatly. And it's a shame because that means that they've never been able to achieve their potential. And they could have with the right kind of support. And we don't need to smell your feet. Thank you, Leon. No, not funny.
Pot, pot.
Yeah.
Pot, pot.
No silly words.
Pot.
Yes. Obviously, Leon's a little excited today with it being his birthday, so.
Yeah, and once again, happy birthday, Leon, to all of our viewers. If you haven't watched the videos, yeah, we're currently recording this during the World Autism Awareness Week, and it will go up much later. So yeah, for now, happy birthday, Leon. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Yeah. It's fascinating what you just shared right now, and about the support, and many parents echo the same sentiments as well. If there were any changes, immediate changes, that you think the educational system or schools could implement, what would you say they could do to improve the conditions to accommodate autistic children and help them reach their potential?
Yeah, for that they would need to really start from scratch. The thing with schools and stuff is they follow a curriculum, and that may work for some children, especially neurotypical children, but with neurodiverse children, that's almost taking all their weak points and saying, right, here we go, you know, that's you for life. You can't do, like with Leon, his interests and his abilities that he's very good at the moment, because that's just 6, we're basically just letting him focus on what he's good at. You know, the rest comes in time. If anything, it's actually helping him learn the basics. You know, some kids are good at maths, that's fair enough, but then if you're trying to force them to do the English or the different subject and saying you've got to do this more and more and more until you get better at it, and then they're neglecting what they're good at and what's natural to them, it's just stress, really, and it really spoils what could be something quite good for them. So yeah, I really think they just need to start all over again. I don't quite know how they're going to do it, but there's just so many autistic children that they maybe, once they get to, you know, late teens, and they can go and more focus on specific subjects like at college or university, it's different. But trying to get through that first stage can do a lot of damage. Right, you is. And that can then stop them from even attempting to do anything in the future, because they just think it's going to be the same. Do you want to go and play in your bedroom like a good boy? No. Yeah, so that's why we just kind of gave up in the school system.
You know, that's very understandable, and I think you're right. If they are going to have to accommodate autistic children, they'll have to start everything from scratch. Now, when it comes to, well, you've touched on it right now, when it comes to homeschooling Leon and letting him focus on what he's good at, my next question is quite general, and feel free to delve in as far as you like. I was going to ask, what are some of the personality traits of your children, or maybe even your grandchild, and what are their interests?
Yeah, well, let's start with my eldest. He has always loved the outdoors. The outdoors and water. Once he kind of got into the early teens, we lived on the coast as always, and he used to just go down and love jumping in the water. Yeah. And he'd walk, right, thank you. He'd walk for miles. Yeah, and as he's gotten older, he's gotten into cars, and obviously he likes games, and computers and gaming is quite a big thing. It's not a thing I've ever really taken to, but yeah, at least 3 of them really do love their gaming, and music's always a big thing as well. I know Erin's loves her music. So it can be quite varied. I've been looking into the more famous autistic people. I want to put something together for Leon to show him just what can be achieved, no matter what. And you do see a lot of them. It's usually things like sports or science or writing, and then you've got some actors. And I think you find it's all about the focus, isn't it? When you find what's your thing and you can focus on it so much that takes you beyond the average neurotypical person. But sometimes it's just trying to find your thing.
Yeah.
But science, computing, yeah, that kind of thing really does seem to be seem a popular theme.
That's really amazing. And based on some of the things that I've seen on your social media, when it comes to Leon, who's quite a popular figure, he likes parkour and Taekwondo, is that right?
He does, yes.
Yeah.
Sit nice. They're quite good because he has other problems that they help with to keep him strong. But they do. The Taekwondo was recommended by his physiotherapist, or not just Taekwondo, but any martial arts.
Yeah.
To help him learn to listen a little bit and calm a little bit. You're just a fidget boy.
You know what? I think he's demonstrating some kicks for us right now. There we are. That's Taekwondo in him.
Yeah, he does. He's not done that much during lockdown, but he did complete his junior section, and he did like it. It was good. It did him the world of good.
Yeah.
Parkour actually has a similar theme. When I was talking to one of the instructors about why other classes failed where they succeeded in helping Leon and benefiting Leon, his answer was that parkour takes into account the whole person. It's not just about, can you do this or can you do that? It's about how is your mind? How are you feeling? Do you feel capable of doing this? Do you want to try something slightly different just now? It doesn't matter where you are. You can still try and build up in it. Whereas I find some classes, they're like, oh, if you can't do this, we're just going to bypass you. You're not good enough for it. You have to do this and you have to do that. Parkour wasn't like that. And I'm going to be very sad to leave his instructors because they've been amazing with him. Absolutely changed his outlook. As did his Taekwondo instructor. He was fantastic too. So maybe we just got, we found the right people who understood and who were happy to help bring the best out in Leon, where some people just don't want to try in the first place, which is it's a bit sad.
Yeah. Well, it's really nice that in parkour they've been able to take into account Leon as a whole, as you just described. And just to provide a bit of context for our viewers, when you say you'll be sad to leave, just to let everyone know that you'll be moving to another part of the British Isles sometime in the near future. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And now, as I touched on, you on social media, what have you set out to do, and how have you been raising awareness on issues related to autism and bringing up autistic children?
I just, too many people are secretive about it or feel ashamed to talk about it. I've had an adult message me saying, I love what you're doing. You know, you're so open and talking about your experiences. And they were saying they felt they couldn't talk to people yet about it. They had to keep it secret. And gosh, sorry, that's the cat. I hear you. And I think I've had people come up to me, because I have stickers on the car stating that, you know, we have an autistic child in the car purely for safety purposes. And I have had one on the door for a long time, just to make people think a little before maybe opening the door or putting parcels in. And I've had, you know, people stop and ask me about it and see how good it is to talk about it, because it's been like a dirty secret for so long. Like it's a bad thing to be autistic, and that's not true at all. There's other things that can make life unpleasant for people, you know, or people who have additional problems that make life very difficult. But autism as its own thing doesn't do that. It just means we think, a lot of it's down to how we think. We just think differently, and that can be of a great benefit to everyone. When you have somebody who can think differently, see things differently, they can come up with all sorts of amazing things. And oh,
we just lost your video feed there, Shelley.
yeah, there we go. It's okay.
There we go. And you're back.
Leon's fixed it.
Fantastic.
Oh gosh, sorry about that.
Why did you call me?
Somebody was calling Leon.
My bossy.
Right, do you want to go through to your room with that so I can do this, darling? Good boy.
No, my bossy.
Right, can you take that through to your bedroom? Good boy.
Oh,
gosh.
FaceTime.
Yes, that's your brother. He's a pain. Oh gosh, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And so yes, it's really great, the stickers that have been prompting people to ask questions, and hopefully for them to develop a better understanding of autism and what it means for individuals and families and the wider community. Before I move on to the next question, there is one question I've been dying to ask. And last time when we met Matt last year on our hike from Brighton to Aberdeen, I didn't get around to asking him, but over the past many months, I've been interacting with you and Matt, and I've been curious to find out, both yourself and Matt are both self-diagnosed as autistic. How did you both meet?
It was actually, we met at the dance studios where our daughters danced, and we got chatting in the cafe one evening waiting on them, and then I didn't actually see him for quite a while. It was about 6 months or so, and the studios were doing an adult dance class, and I thought it might be nice. I'd never had that opportunity as a child, and I thought I quite fancied trying that. And Matt had already done ballet before, so he thought he might give it a try. And yeah, it was quite an instant attraction, and we just kind of felt right. So it was nice, because I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was happy with my children and being single. But no, I consider myself very lucky to have found him.
Yeah, well, I can tell by the smile on your face when you told us that story. And related to that, were you surprised when you both discovered that you weren't neurotypical, or was it it made perfect sense?
I think that's why we fit so well.
Yeah.
We kind of can tolerate others' strangeness, and I mean sometimes it can be it can be difficult to work with each other's problems and sensory issues. You know, even something as simple as Matt wanted to rearrange the living room, and I can't cope with that. So it got to the stage where he knows I can't cope, so he'd be like, "Why don't you go out for a bit? I'll organize the stuff, and then you come back." And it'll still be hard, but it won't be as bad as me trying to be in the same room while he's wanting to do stuff. But we are obviously a lot more understanding of each other, knowing, because we can kind of empathize better of what it feels like to be, you know, have that sensory overload, or or just need time to ourselves. We don't get offended if the other one just wants to be left alone for a while. We can, we can say that. It can be hard though at times when you're both needing time or help and you're kind of clashing. But you work around it, you work with it.
Wow, well, that's absolutely beautiful. And I think it dovetails nicely into the next question I had to ask as well. Did or do you and or your children have any sensory sensitivity issues? And how are they exhibited?
Yeah, that's the thing. Sensory issues can be a very hard one. It can be something like I'm really sensitive to light. I wear sunglasses all year round if I go out the house. I'd like to wear them in the house too, but that is getting, I just tend to shut the blinds. And sounds can be a hard one. I use earplugs. I've got these earplugs. It means I can hear if people are talking, but it helps filter out the surrounding noise, which I find very difficult to focus on. So yeah, obviously sounds and lights and stuff are quite common ones. Leon has ear defenders to help block out stuff. With other sensory needs, we have quite a lot of food related sensory needs in the household. So meal times are certainly not like neurotypical people.
Wow.
Leon has a very restricted diet. He's very slowly improving now. I really can't say much because I can be quite restrictive. My own, you do feel like a child throwing a tantrum sometimes when you're like, I can't drink anything. The shop's got nothing, we're out for the day and I need a drink and they don't have Coca-Cola. What am I supposed to drink? It can be. And we went to McDonald's once with Matt to get lunch for everyone, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, the Coke machine's not working." And I'm like,
No.
"Oh my God, what am I to drink? I can't drink anything. I'm just going to have to do without." And it was like, you feel so stupid, but well, it's just how you are. You really can't. So food issues, yeah, food sensitivities are another big one. Obviously crowds. We don't like busy places. It's not just necessarily the noise, it's the feeling, the energies and stuff. Leon when he's stressed needs a lot of firm. He literally hangs on my hands, so he likes a lot of pressure in his chest area and back, so he used to carry a backpack a lot filled with stuff to try and help regulate his sensory needs. So you just get so many, or the stimming to help again regulate emotions and sensory inputs. And that's one thing that a lot of neurotypical people don't understand. And when you're dealing with especially young ones, they're like, well, you can't be doing that, you can't be flapping your hands, it disrupts other people. But it's not about disrupting other people, it's about helping regulate ourselves so that we can cope with situations. Yeah, it's sensory problems are obviously a massive thing. And everybody's are different.
Yeah. What you said about Leon and also the weight in the chest, it reminded me of our first interview, who was with Matt back in last year, and he was talking about how he likes to embrace and how he likes to position himself, and I'm guessing that's related to wanting that weight in the chest, isn't it? Yeah. Yes,
I actually did a sensory workshop, and that's where I learned some more stuff about all these different sort of different needs, and they're usually one extreme to the other, so that can confuse people when it comes to autism. It's like, well, how can you be one way and then be the other way when you're not supposed to just be one way? You're not supposed to maybe just like loud noises, but then it's like Leon can be quite loud, but it doesn't mean he likes loud noises. It can be quite complicated. It's more of a slidey scale than a yes or no. Which then can make, like holidays, we've always had to prepare quite carefully for taking him to unknown places. because you don't know the sounds, you don't know the lights, you don't know how just the atmosphere, and that can affect things that you want to do. Like I don't like swimming pools. The sounds, the smells make me quite panicky. But obviously swimming is quite good for you, and we'd like Leon to know how to swim, and it's something you've got to kind of try and work around. How can we cope? How can Leon cope? How can we make it better for him? And then obviously we have to do that with almost the whole household because we've all got our different sensory issues.
Amazing.
Yeah, it can be a challenge, like with life, but you start to get the hang of it more. It's easier now he's older and can verbalize. When he was non-verbal, it was extremely difficult to understand and to help him.
It's amazing everything you've shared, and that ties into some of the work that we've been doing over the past year. So as you're aware, we're currently raising awareness to build a tool to help people have a better understanding of their own sensory sensitivity issues, to help identify those triggers. Would you say a tool like this would have helped you and help your family?
I can imagine so. Anything that can help make life more bearable, especially if you want to leave the house. Otherwise you do get trapped. You do feel like you can't go out because you don't know if there's going to be such a thing, or certain noises or lights flickering, or people are going to suddenly be there, or where there's it can be sort of a million things. But yeah, I think so many autistics do have multiple sensory problems. I can imagine anything to help would make life more easier.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. We're almost approaching the end of the interview, and I do have a few more questions. And one of them's in light of autism awareness in general, and also more recently, we're currently in World Autism Awareness Day. So I have questions regarding the very popular Jigsaw icon or logo that's been, I think, propagated by Autism Speaks. It started in the US, I think in 1963. And also more recently with the hashtag Light It Up Blue. Now, we would put up things on social media with good intention to raise awareness, get the tags and get people eyes on us, and to have an understanding of autism. But then lately we've been receiving some messages, very polite messages, of people encouraging us to move away from using the jigsaw piece, which we haven't done, but it's been insightful, and also to move away from the hashtag Light It Up Blue. And it's been quite an eye-opener for us. Would you like to share some of your thoughts on this, Shelley?
Yes, well, when it comes to the puzzle piece, personally, I don't find that overly offensive, but I can kind of understand where people are coming from. We're not, that was sort of back when it was something to be cured, a puzzle to be fixed. And we've come so far from that. We're really not here to be fixed. We don't need to be fixed. So, but fair enough, the Light It Up Blue is something a bit different. There's a lot of stuff you can find online about that. And it's more because of the charity. It's not really, again, it's not to help autistic people. It's more neurotypicals wanting to sort us so that we fit in better with them. They, in one of their adverts, they referred to autism along the lines of cancer, and that it's taking your children and ruining them, and obviously that's not what autism is. These days it seems to be they're using red instead, or a gold infinity symbol or a rainbow infinity symbol, because then it's not just about autism, it's about the whole neurodiversity. And we all tend to have multiple ones, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, OCD, even the anxiety and things that a bit more like the sensory processing disorder. And then you've got the auditory processing disorder and the PDA. They're all interlinked. It's not just one or the other. They're all linked up. And it's about acceptance of being different, and not being something that has to be fixed or cured to make neurotypical people happy and feel comfortable and secure, because we all deserve to be comfortable and secure in ourselves and in life. I think a lot of it's come around as more people, you know, again, when it was before, it was all these autistic children, like you grew out of it as you got older, or you got cured and then you became a functioning adult, and it's not that at all. So as there are more adults now with autism, or who know they're autistic, and they're wanting acceptance for themselves, that I think that's where things are having to change, so that, like I said, it's not just all about children anymore. It's about, we are autistic adults and we want to be accepted for who we are, and we have as much right for that as anyone else. But I'm still learning myself.
Yeah, well, aren't we all, Shelley? I mean, this has been such an enlightening interview. Thank you so much for your time. I think this also dovetails nicely with the next question that I have. Is there a message you would like to send out to our audience about autism, and what's it like to be on and have children on the spectrum?
Well, it's certainly an interesting journey. It can be hard. It can be very hard. But I'd say it's no less rewarding than a neurotypical child. We're just different. We think differently. The children think differently, and I think when it comes to looking about autism awareness and acceptance, people, you know, tend to think, oh, the main charities are the ones to go to, but unfortunately, they're often the ones stuck in the past. I've actually, on Facebook, I joined a few groups, and it's always ones about autistic people, like, you know, for actual autistic people. It's not neurotypical people wanting to complain about their autistic children or things like that. It's actual autistic people who have these groups, and I find the information is a lot more solid, and we, you know, quite often we can get some quite good scientific information. And yeah, you know, everybody's learning, though. A lot of people are new to it and don't realise that Light It Up Blue or the puzzle piece is offensive to some people. But a lot of the groups I'm in are very, very good. You know, they don't have a go at you if you don't understand. They try and explain it and give you information so that you understand. Yeah. And that you can, you know, you can make your own decision on it all. But I find Facebook's quite good for information, and for I think you just need to keep away from some of the really big things you'd assume would be the good place to go. You know, the big charities. I think some of them are a bit outdated, and yeah, I think you need to focus on some of these smaller groups that are maybe run actually by autistic people, which sort of they obviously know themselves then what it's like a bit more, rather than neurotypicals just trying to raise money and for stuff that's not actually very practical. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Shelley, for this absolutely magnificent interview. And as we come to the end of it, I have one question. How can our audience find out more about autism and about you and about, well, Leon, and on the social media platforms you have? So yeah,
well, we're on Facebook and Instagram at Life with Leon 3003, and we're also on YouTube at Life with Leon. We just try and show life and everyday stuff and just help people learn, like I'm learning.
Mom, I said put this.
Oh gosh, okay, lovely.
And he just hung up.
Did he hang up? Okay, good boy. Yeah, it's just about.
Why did he hang up my sleep?
Yeah, it's just like people. The more knowledge that's out there, the better it'll be. I mean, I probably rambled a bit and, you know, gone over stuff multiple times, but
no, it's fun. Look, thank you so much, Shelley. I think this kind of marks the end of the interview. What I'll do is at the bottom, when we post this online, at the bottom, I'll post links to the Instagram and YouTube. But I think it's calling for your attention now. So on this note, I would like to thank you, Shelley. I'd like to thank you, Leon, as well. A massive happy birthday to you, young man. Happy birthday, Leon. And thank you everyone at home who listened to this. If you liked what you saw today and you want to share your story, get in touch with us. Let's put your voice out there in the world. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Shelley.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye for now.